What is up, party people? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Jamila. This is JemilaBeReadin because I do be reading, and in this video I am going to attempt to be a historical romance girly. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I am a romance reader. I do like romances, but they are primarily contemporary romances. I've read, I want to say theoretically I've read 3 historical romances, I think, in my life. One I did really like. It was a book by Erica Ridley. I'm blanking on the name right now, but I did enjoy that one. I also read a book from a few videos ago. I'll have it linked somewhere on here. It was the video where I read the highest and lowest rated romances on my physical TBR, and it was We Could Be So Good by Cat Sebastian, and that's set in the 50s, so I mean technically that is historical, but it's not like, I guess, what you would imagine when you think of historical romances, like the Regency and Victorian time periods, or whatever that time period is, a little bit older than the 1950s. And then I read this book called Race Trader by Jamila Jasper. Now, I have a series of videos on TikTok about this book and this author. I'm not gonna get into it. Theoretically, that is a historical romance as well, but I've blocked it from my memory, so that doesn't count to me. So really, I only read 2 historical romances in my reading tenure, okay? So I decided it's time. It's time for me to read historical romances. I think I felt so iffy about the historical aspect of it. I think as I've gotten older, I've just appreciated historical fiction a lot more, and I feel like I'm more mature. I feel like my brain is ready to accept historical romances now, and I've been really into like Bridgerton, which is, whatever. But I really wanted to, and I had some books on my TBR that have just been sitting there, and I thought it's time for me to finally read them. So the books that I'm reading in this video are Rebel by Beverly Jenkins. This is the first book in her Women Who Dare series. I think this is her most recent romance series. Now, Beverly Jenkins is the GOAT of Black historical romances, or just historical romances in general, and I am ashamed to admit that I have not read a Beverly Jenkins yet. So this is going to be my intro. So I have really high hopes for this. I know so many people love Beverly Jenkins. I don't even know why I know this is the intro, but I'm filming this after I've already read all of the books. So I feel silly talking in future tense when I've already read it. But I won't say anything right now. You'll have to wait. Then we have The Duke Gets Desperate by Diana Quincy. I became familiar with this author because I kept seeing her name pop up as recommendations for Palestinian authors, and I saw that this had a Palestinian main character, and I was like, yo, I need to read this. So there's that. And we have A Caribbean Heiress in Paris by Adriana Herrera. This one has been sitting on my TBR for a while now, so it's time to get to it. Again, I feel weird talking in the future tense. And the final book, I don't have a physical copy of it, but I have it on my Kindle, and that's The Duke Who Didn't by Courtney Milan, another author that I have heard a lot about within the historical romance sphere, and very excited to get to her book as well. I think what was really important for me about this video is that I wanted to pick out historical romances by authors of color. I think there is a specific idea when people think of historical romances, and I really wanted to get a breadth of experiences with historical romances. I know even with historical fiction that I do like, I tend to, maybe be a little biased and prefer historical fiction books by authors of color. I just think it's more interesting to me personally. We'll just keep it at that. So I have these 4 books that I'm going to read in this video, and I will let you know my thoughts on them. So roll the clips. Hello, I'm filming on my phone in case the quality is not that good. I have like 5 minutes of free available space on my SD card on my camera, and I don't remember if I bought a spare empty one. What am I saying? If I have another one, so I might have to order one. So I'm filming on my phone. In any case, I started The Duke Who Didn't, I hope that's the correct title, by Courtney Milan. I started this like a week ago, honestly, and I just haven't had a lot of time to read this week, but I am, let me just check. I am 13% of the way through the book. I was immediately grabbed. I was immediately charmed. It is really fun so far. I like the banter. This is following, who is this? Chloe and, what's his name? I want to say Jeremy. It seems like they were childhood friends, and a few years ago he was like, hey girl, I like you, and she was like, I need you to be for real. I need you to be serious before you come calling for me. And he went away for 3 years, and she was like, oh, and now he's back, and she's like, oh, and he's like, girl. Anyways, that's all I have for you right now. Like I said, I'm only 13% of the way through, but I think it's really fun and charming so far, so I'll update you when I have more to say. Hello. I just wanted to come on here and let you know that I finished The Duke Who Didn't last night. I'm not really, in the brain space to give you my full thoughts right now, so I'll do that soon. In daylight hours perhaps, but I will say I had a good time. Ultimately, I don't know that it is necessarily going to be like a standout or like particularly memorable to me. It's very low stakes, like much more low stakes than I was anticipating, much more low stakes than most romances I tend to read, which is nice in some aspects. Like, if you're looking for something that truly is low stakes, does not have a third act breakup or conflict, is just a good time and is very sweet, I would recommend picking this one up. It was cute, and I thought in particular, like the first sex scene between them, they're both are virgins, and so they're like having to figure things out, and I thought it was really sweet, and it was also kind of sexy. So well done, Courtney Milan, on that. So yeah, it was a good time. Again, just it's kind of like a no thoughts, just vibes kind of book. Not like a ton of plot really moving this book forward. The whole like setup is a little bit contrived, but ultimately it was fun. So you know what, actually that was the majority of my thoughts, so perhaps I will not come to you in the morning with more thoughts. I don't know. Hello. I finished A Caribbean Heiress in Paris a few days ago, and I have some thoughts. I don't even know what to rate this. I think I'm thinking somewhere around a 3-star, maybe 3.25 star. I enjoyed my time reading this, but this is not something that is going to leave a lasting impression on me. So I'm not sure if I talked about what this book is about, but it's following Luz and James. Luz is coming to Paris from Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic. She is an heiress of sorts. Her family runs a distillery of some kind. Rum. They sell rum, and she's coming to Paris to find international buyers. And we have James, who is an earl, the Earl of Darnick in Scotland. And he also has a distillery of sorts where he has whiskey, and they're both dealing with things. She needs to get married in order to access her inheritance, he also needs to get married in order to actually own this whiskey business. Whiskey business. I bet that is a romance book title out there somewhere. And so they have to come together and work together. It's kind of marriage of convenience, I guess. I enjoyed both of these characters, and I think that they had really great chemistry. My problem with this book, though, is the pacing and really the plot. It's a little bit plotless, which I can go with, but the pacing was so off. They don't fake marry or like have their marriage of convenience until probably halfway through the book, and they are already so intensely feeling each other after a single day. A single day has passed by and they are ready to risk it all for each other. It's so insta love, and I really don't like insta love. I can go along with it sometimes if I find that they have really good chemistry, or I just I get it, and I didn't get it here. I didn't. They just got together a little bit too fast, and then once they, let's say, changed locations, things fell off. It felt like things were moving way too fast. I just wish that the marriage of convenience plotline happened sooner in the book, and there was a little bit more romantic development, or just getting to know each other a little bit more before it got very serious all of a sudden. In any case, this was fine. I don't know. I don't have very strong feelings about this book. Like I said, 3.25 stars. I think that I like the Duke who didn't a little bit more, just because I found it to be a little bit more charming in its writing. But I am going to continue in this series. I am going to continue in the Courtney Milan series. So I'm interested in reading the second book. Oh, what is it called? An Island Princess Starts a Scandal or something like that. It sounds like a good time. I'm invested in these characters, I will say. I want to know about the side characters. I think this book did a good job of making the side characters feel really realized and real, and important to these characters and moving the plot forward. So I enjoyed that, and I want to read more in this series. It's just one of those series that I think I'll be reading purely for entertainment, to kind of pass time along, rather than something that's really drawing me to it, I suppose. I am 100 pages into this book. Dina, the main character, I lied. Her name is Raya. Raya, the main character, love her. She's very enterprising. She's very strong. She's very clever. She's very smart. Great. The dude in this? Ew! I'm supposed to be rooting for them to get together? He sucks. He sucks. I have another complaint. Let me read this line to you. So this is a conversation between the Duke and Raya. And she's asking him if money has always been a problem. And he's like, no, we used to do quite well with farming. He said, what happened? He said it was America's fault. He says, you have huge expanses of land, and with your railroads and steamships, you're able to grow, harvest, and import certain foods more quickly and efficiently than at times than we can produce them on our own. Things like wheat, flour, grain. As a result, many farm workers move to the cities for work. Mind you, they're in England. It's just really funny to say that oh, the Americans have so much land and the steamships and manpower, and it's who do you think is doing that work during this time period? Weird to just not acknowledge that at all. There's nothing more exciting than bending a formidable woman to your will. So I think I filmed some random clips of me reading and talking about the Duke. It gets desperate, but I don't think I fully talked about what this book is about. So it's following Anthony Carey, the Duke of Strickland, He is supposed to be inheriting his family castle. When his father passes away, he leaves it to his stepmother, Anthony's stepmother. So he is pretty upset about this. But then his stepmother passes away, and he thinks that it's supposed to go to him, but instead it goes to our other main character, Raya Darwish, who is an Arab American, a Palestinian American, whose family has a business in New York City, and she was helping running this business there. She is the cousin of Dina, the stepmother, and they had been corresponding, but they never met each other in person. So it is shocking to everybody when Dina leaves this castle, this family estate, to Raya. So she's here and this is in the UK, so she goes, and the estate is basically bankrupt, so she is trying to figure out how to save it and make money. Meanwhile, she is having a lot of tiffs with Anthony, but they eventually come together to try to rebuild this estate and I guess fall in love in the process. I did finish this and I didn't like it, unfortunately. This was not it. This was my least favorite so far. I think I'm probably gonna give this a 2-star. I liked Raya for the most part as a character. Like I mentioned, she is very, I think she's a clever businesswoman. She's very enterprising. She has a lot of ideas. I will say, I think she got a little bit more annoying the further along we got into the story. I just feel like she really felt the need to go out of her way to misunderstand the male love interest, Anthony, at certain points, which I don't blame her, because I mean, I think that he's treating her pretty poorly throughout this, and I was not rooting for them to get together. So this was a difficult time for me. He sucks. He really does. And I don't think this book really did, I don't know, well, incorporating some of the like cultural aspects and commentary. I don't even know if maybe it was trying to make commentary. Maybe it wasn't. But there were racist things that were happening to Raya from side characters, and Anthony would come to her defense occasionally, but not to denounce the racist things that are happening, more of him flexing his authority so that people will listen to her. And it was just so annoying because, spoiler warning, there is a conversation that he's having with his sister, and she kind of starts getting a little bit racist, asking like how dark she is, like saying, oh, why wouldn't an Arab woman want to like be perceived as like a white British woman or something like that of society. And he just like doesn't say anything to that. And I thought maybe like another conversation would happen down the line in the book and he would call her out or say something. He just never really at all acknowledges her identity or tries to defend her from racist vitriol from others. But he does kind of like fetishize the fact that she's Arab American at times, and it's really weird. And I didn't like this, and I just thought that this whole thing was weird. It felt to me almost like a white person writing this book. It just, and this came out in like 2023. It came out last year. I would understand maybe. I wouldn't understand, but like I would get it had this come out maybe 10-15 years ago. But it was just weird for this to be what it was in the year 2023, and this book was written by a Palestinian American, and I don't know, I was just very confused by the nature of this book. And I think this is supposed to be like enemies to lovers, they're beefing the whole time, but I just think that he is so rude to her unnecessarily, and is kind of like a little bit racist himself. Like he keeps referring to her as like an interloper or an outsider, which I guess, like, without the context of who she is, that is true in certain cases. Like, that is how he would perceive her, but like, it just feels loaded considering the fact that she's Arab American and other people around her are calling her the same thing and it having a loaded meaning, you know? It's just weird. I don't get it. I didn't like it. I wasn't rooting for them. They felt very toxic. It seemed like he was just sexually attracted to her. I don't know. I didn't like it. And I wouldn't recommend it, to be quite honest. So we only have one book left, and that is Rebel by Beverly Jenkins. I'm so excited to read this one. It'll be my first Beverly Jenkins. I'm trying not to come in with too high of an expectation just because I don't want to get disappointed, but I have just heard all of the praises of Beverly Jenkins throughout these years, and I'm very excited to finally read one of her books and also continue on if I have a good time. So I will come back to you when I have thoughts. I was going to take you guys along to my book club meeting where we discussed this book, and we're doing like a fun, like, historical romance themed meeting, but unfortunately it did have to get rescheduled, and I don't know when that's going to be. So I will likely not have that in this video anymore. So it might be a little bit more boring than anticipated. Sorry. All you have to do is sit here and listen to me yap, but that's what I do in most of my videos. So if you're already here, it means you love hearing me yap. Okay. I finished Rebel by Beverly Jenkins. I meant to give like a midway update. Oh, that is a nasty bug. Okay, it's outside though. Ooh, okay. I meant to give a midway update, but I read this like pretty much all in one day yesterday, and I listened to the audiobook actually for most of this. I started reading it like with my eyes, but then I was just going around doing grocery shoppings and like running errands and cooking, so I just decided to pick up the audiobook, which I was a little bit hesitant about because I don't usually like to listen to romance books on audio just because I don't really want to listen to a sex scene. I'm just like, wait, what about if it's cringy and I want to be able to skip through it easier? But it wasn't bad. And also the narrator, I'm forgetting her name, like Kim Stanton or something like that. I don't know if that's right, but I really liked her voice, and I think she's narrated a few other things that I've liked as well. So I enjoyed the audiobook. I listened to it. It was really good. I really like this book. I am so happy. I was a little bit nervous at first because it was a little slow, but I really, really liked this. This is following our two main characters, Valinda Lacey and Drake Lebec. Valinda is a teacher from New York. She has come to New Orleans to teach recently freed Black people, and she is teaching and encounters a really bad situation she's running away from, and she runs into Drake and his sister-in-law, and they kind of save her. And then she kind of just ends up getting entangled with Drake and his family. While she's in New Orleans, she is kind of figuring out her path, wanting to teach, wanting to stay in New Orleans, and falling in love with Drake. I loved it. I just think this was such a well fleshed out world. I mean, I know it's real life, but you know what I mean? Like, I just felt like I was there. All of the side characters were really well developed. Everything just like, it just added. It just felt like a very well developed world, which again, I know sounds weird to say about like real time period and real people, but like, do you know what I mean? Anyways, I also really liked the romance. I thought it was really cute. Drake. A man. Do you know what I mean? And, you know, they were cute together. They had cute banter. The tension was scrumptious. You know what I mean? I had a good time. It had me like, I was cooking and I was just like, while cooking. It was a good time. It was a good time. I'm gonna give this one like a 4.25 stars. I'm so excited to continue on reading more from Beverly Jenkins. I just know that I think she's gonna become one of my favorite authors. I think she is. This was such a good time. I'm so happy because I felt like very middling about a lot of the books that I read for this video, and I was like, oh my god, if a Beverly Jenkins doesn't hit, like what will I do? But it did. It did, and I had a good time. And it was cute. I liked it. I liked that they each had their own like side plots and character development. I liked I think the historical aspect like really added and enriched the story as well. It was too good. It was too good. But that is it for this video. I read 4 books in order. I started off with The Duke Who Didn't by Courtney Milan, and I gave that one like a 3.5 stars. Then I read The Caribbean Heiress in Paris, and I gave that one like a 3.25 stars. I read The Duke Gets Desperate, and I gave that one a 2 stars. And then I read Rebel, which I gave a 4.25 stars. So at least we ended on a high note. If you've read any of these books, let me know your thoughts. If you have any suggestions of historical romances that I should check out next, let me know. And I'll catch y'all in the next video.